Okay, back again, and before we get started here, I'm actually gonna, I took the actual bearing cover, the seal off of the internal bearing for the housing of the carrier here, and we're actually gonna add some grease as I see that it's very, very, very dry on grease. So I'm just gonna use my grease gun, and we're gonna use Amsoil water resistant grease, use a good high quality grease, and we're gonna inject grease into the back side of this bearing and see if we can smooth some of it out. And otherwise I'm going to have to probably remove the bearing. I don't really think it needs replaced, but it's a little dry, so we'll just inject some grease in there and see if we can get it to quiet down. And yeah, it's just a precaution, but you need to be real careful removing these the cover here, that you don't damage it. So let's get started. As you can see here, that I have removed basically the waterproof gasket. It's metal. It's not a gasket, it's a metal seal to keep it from getting moisture in it. And what we're going to do is I'm actually going to just inject grease in here with this needle adapter that I have for the grease gun. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hook it up to my grease gun and then see if I can't pump some grease in there and get this thing kind of greased up. And we're just going to go throughout this and add some grease in there. I'm also adding waterproof grease to this. We will kind of turn it here, and it did quiet it down a little bit. And we're just going to go around each ball and add some grease. Of course, we're going to make a mess here. Looks pretty good. We're going to put this cover back on. And this cover, basically, the notches were, so you kind of slip it in with a screwdriver and push it in to the bearing, and it'll push in there, but don't press too hard because you don't want to damage it, and it'll just kind of press in there. Gonna make a little bit of a mess, but some grease is better than no grease. If you saw the differential when it locked up, that thing had no grease in it whatsoever. I don't see any grease coming out of it with the seal in place. Ugh, this is gonna be kind of hard to do this side. See if I can get the hook in there to get that out of there, because you want to be careful doing this. There we go. There's a lot of dirt in this one. And I used a pick to get in here, but I probably should have used a 90-degree pick if I could get it in there. We'll just kind of pull the seal up a little here without disassembling this. And we have the seal up now. And we're just going to use the needle and jam enough grease as possible in there so we don't have to take the whole differential apart. We're actually going to have to use this needle and not the long tip. Whew. Watch your fingers if you have one of these kits. And you can get one of these kits through my links below. And this one, we're just going to take this needle and we're going to put grease all throughout the housing. And maybe we're not. Oh man, it's gonna push it right off the needle. We're just going to slowly pump. Grease. And we've got grease all throughout there, and now we're going to just gently push this seal back into place like so. Just go a little bit at a time. And take your flathead screwdriver and you're just pushing it back into the housing. There we go. We'll wipe off all the excess grease. Make sure it's pressed into place. Then we'll take our towel and we're wiping the excess off, so when I spin it here I can see if any grease comes out of the seal. And it doesn't. Okay, and starting to really sweat here. I'm going to have to get some sugar. I'm borderline diabetic. You really need to make sure, if you're going to go through this far into fixing this, that you need to go ahead and just grease these up like this, because you don't want to have to come back and do this for a long time. If you go through these steps and grease these like they should be, like this quad is a 2007, it's 2017, and you know, I shouldn't have to do this for a long time, or if I pass it on to another owner, then they don't have to worry about this. But you need to use a high quality grease. Don't use just some Joe Blow grease. And this did quiet up quite a bit. So over time, it'll work the grease down into the center of the bearings. But you know, you can purchase this Amsoil grease, waterproof grease. I use waterproof grease instead of the high speed grease this time, because I figured on the ATV it's going to be, I usually use that high speed grease for just about everything, but on this ATV I'm going to be in water and in the woods. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Check the links below, description below, Amsoil catalog. Just click the links below, find out what oil works for you, and more KTM videos next. Next video will be me putting this thing back together for the differential, and then we'll get it back on the quad.